Hello YouTube, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another awesome video. And I decided to do this because of recent Twitter comments made by UFC President Dana White. And this leads to a topic that I've really wanted to talk about for quite a while. The difference between script and fake. Now, before you ask, why did I bring this up and why I'm bringing up Dana White? Well, this all stems from some Twitter comments he made uh, with someone using, I guess, Seth Rollins' name on Twitter. I don't know. The guy looks like, he just says Seth Rollins, hashtag Seth Rollins guy. So, anyway, Seth Rollins guy, that is his Twitter name. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just trying to say it. So, he says to the point, now, this has happened last night. Last night was also a big UFC event with Ronda Rousey. For those of you who don't know, Ronda Rousey is probably the most badass woman on the face of the planet, considering she is a extremely dominant female MMA fighter. I'm sorry, I'm just uploading a video to my YouTube right now, so I gotta do that. All right. So anyway, the guy makes a comment like, this is what he's saying. I wish I could watch the Rousey fight tomorrow night. Vince got you beat there, hashtag Dana White. Opera pay-per-views are only $9.99. Dana White responds, I hear you, bro, but fake shit should be $9.99. Seth Rollins guy responds, try it out sometime, walk around that ring and tell me it's fake. Dana White replies, trust me, friend, it's fake. Now, for those of you now, I'm just gonna say this: people say calling wrestling fake is a sore topic for both wrestlers and fans alike. I'll get into this more now. This caused a virtual tsunami of shit coming Dana White's way from pro wrestlers. It's okay. We got here are some tweets. Here's one from Taz. What's fake and what's predetermined? Dana White. My body is busted up from that fake shit. You think you can train less? Uh, Bully Ray, aka Bubba Ray Dudley. Good thing you had fake Brock Lesnar in the UFC to be your biggest pay-per-view draw of all time. And let's see. And then Dana White replies, not disrespecting what they do. All WWE guys I've met are awesome people, but yes, it's fake. Bull Dempsey, NXT superstar, says, hey, Dana White, come to the Performance Center and see what we do every day and tell me it's fake. Send your Ultimate Fighters here, too. How dare you? Eric Young, TNA superstar, boo, magic is fake. What I do is not fake. That is an ignorant point of view. Bully Ray then retweets, sir, do the right thing and apologize to the industry that laid the groundwork for your industry. Have a great show. Now, okay, now let me try to explain this to you because people who say wrestling is fake, that argument normally comes from people who are not fans of wrestling, nor do they have an understanding of what being a professional wrestler entails. Now, let's get to this difference between fake and predetermined or scripted. Fake means that it is not real, that there is no inherent danger, no inherent risk. This means that this is under the assumption that everything a pro wrestler does in the ring is by this standard not real. As in, they just go in the ring, they don't take any risks, they don't get any injuries, and there is no lasting after effects of what they do. Predetermined or scripted means that the outcome is predetermined. It's just like like we know who's the bookers say. This is what the bookers do. They book who they need to make win to make the storyline make sense. The person goes into a ring. Two people go into a ring. It's already decided who's going to win. The big issue is, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm not saying that it's all real. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's a difference between fake and scripted. Movies are fake. Keanu Reeves did not kill, is not a badass assassin in real life who kills dudes for killing his dog. Carl Urban is not Judge Dredd, and he is not offing suspects in a city of Mega City 1 in the near distant future. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a cybernetic organism with living flesh over a metal endoskeleton. That's fake. What they do is predetermined, but it still hurts. What do I mean by hurt? Okay, first let me give you a little crash course on a little bit of what wrestlers actually do. When you train to be a wrestler, I did do a little training back when I was in college for professional wrestling promotion down in Huntsville. I did a job tryout, did a couple of weeks, but I was more focused on my studies. I didn't want to get into it's an long story. But anyway, so what they do first is they do a lot of basic exercises, intensive calisthenics and basic exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, jogging in place, and all that to get your cardio up, to see where you are physically. Because you don't just jump into the ring and start doing moves. They have to work your ass first just to see where you're going. Because they don't want you falling out in the middle of the ring from exhaustion because you can't handle shit. Now, after they're done this for a while, maybe 2 or 3 days or weeks down the line. I don't know. It depends on who's training who or how the training regimen is going. But when they get you in the ring, they don't get to the moves first. They have to get you acclimated to the ring itself, because the ring is as much a part of wrestling as is the wrestlers. Now, I'm going to tell you from experience, when you get inside that ring and go to work, you will be hurting. You will be suffering in ways that you did not think were possible for a person to suffer. Because despite how first thing they do is what the first thing they made us do is run the ropes. And depending on where you go and the organization on the quality of the ropes, those things can hurt. They're not all ropes. For the WWE, I know they use like high tensile cables wrapped in a thick type of plastic or of some such to not make it so that when you go off the ropes, you don't accidentally peel off half your flesh doing so. So this is what when they say run the ropes, you have to run as fast as you can into the ropes to make them bend well enough so that it gives a certain amount of give, that it makes it look flexible. I'm sorry if I'm getting my wording mixed up. It's how you have to make it look. Like, hold on. All right, let me show you here. This is the ropes, and when you run into them, you have to make it bend, go all the way back like this. Not all the way back, but just enough to make it look believable that you're really running into them. If you're not, you have to go at these full speed. Like, you have to really hit these things, because if you don't, if you just walk right into them, they're not going to run. It's not believable that you're bouncing off the ropes. It's more like you just doing that when you really should be doing this. That's what it means to go off the ropes. These things hurt. Well, not this, but the ropes hurt. When I went off the ropes, it tore up my back something fierce. I had bruises and welts and slashes all over my back, and it was just terrible. Then they teach you, once you've done that, then they'll teach you how to take a hit or take a fall, because the mat is not a big trampoline. It's not some big cushion thing that they can fall on. They have very little cushion in between them. Underneath that is a bunch of plywood boards, and underneath that is one big ass spring. That's how I do. If you really want to see, they've torn up a ring a lot of times. Look at Bully Ray versus Sting from the World Title Championship. Bully Ray tears up the ring, and you can see the boards underneath it. There is really no give. It really hurts going that far. So what you have to do is, when you fall back, your hands and your feet kind of have to hit the mat at the same time, or better, before your back hits it, just so you can disperse the force. That's how you do it. You just got to fall back, slam, that's it. You just got to disperse. If you don't do it this way, you're going to hurt yourself. And they teach you how to do this, and they make you do all the basic stuff before they even teach you any moves, just so you know how to move around the ring and not get hurt. Then if you've made it that far, they'll start teaching you some moves, like basic moves like body slams and drop kicks and tie-ups and just the basic stuff and backdrops. They don't really teach you none of the technical stuff unless you've shown a proficiency for it. And they teach you the flow of the match. How, because a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, the matches are not planned out per se, step by step by step by step. It's more improvisational. They just go. The wrestlers go through themselves about, okay, we know this is the end of the match. You know, I'm gonna go over on you. Like, right, yeah. So how we're gonna do this? All right, first we're gonna do such and such at this moment. I'm gonna do this big move. Then we're gonna go outside, do some more back fight, and then we're gonna work our way back in, and then it's going to lead up to this, and this is going to be the finish. So all of it is just improvisation, what looks good at the time. Sometimes they just come up with moves off the fly. Now, uh, uh, an exception to this is Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. With that matchup, it is considered one of the greatest matches of all time, and that's because Steamboat and Savage went through the match repeatedly, step by step by step. They planned out nearly every single move of that match, and it looks marvelous because they were technical machines and they could tell a good story. This is what entails, this is what goes into professional wrestling. As I've said before to various members of my family and to various fans online, 90 to 95% of what you see in the ring is real. The punches are not real. They just sell the punches. That's what they call selling, making something look good. Everything else comes with a significant risk of injury. Drop kicks are very painful if not done right. Suplexes hurt. Backdrops hurt. Off top rope moves hurt. Pretty much almost everything they do outside of punches really, really does hurt. Now, that's just basically what you have to understand. I'm trying to educate you on what they go through before you can say, oh, it's fake. Because every time I run into a person who say, oh, wrestling is fake, they're not really getting hurt, I ask them, well, why don't you get in the ring? They're like, no, I'm not crazy. So see, people say it's fake, but they don't want to do it. If it's so fake, why don't you want to do it? I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying you're going around saying that it's fake, but on the other hand, you're saying you're not crazy because you could get hurt in the ring. That's kind of redundant because you can't have it. You can't say it's fake and then say you don't want to get in the ring because it hurts, because it does hurt. Now, the reason why people were like guys like Taz and Bully Ray and Eric Young are so defensive about it is because this business takes a toll on you. It's not an easy job to do. It is, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Professional wrestling is the hardest physical sport, I call it sport, that you can do in America, probably the world. I know people are saying, what about football? They run into each other, but no. Football has an off season. Football has an off season, and they play for a few. Wrestling doesn't have seasons. More often than not, you have to wrestle 52 weeks out of the year, day, rain or shine. Sometimes 2, maybe 3 times a week, depending on how popular or you are or how busy your schedule is. You don't just they just don't go home or whatever. They're still on the road doing this shit, and they rarely see their families. It's a hard job, not just for the wrestlers, but for their families that they can't see all that often, unless you're married to another wrestler or someone in the know. All right, so and they don't have off seasons, and sometimes they work hurt because, like with any job, if you're not working, you're not getting paid. And they want to get paid. They have to they have to make a living for themselves. So it's much more difficult than say hockey or football or rugby because you can take time off, and they have off seasons. WWE wrestling doesn't have off seasons. You work every week out of the year. It's hard. Now, Another reason why guys like that would say it is because they have suffered real and lasting injuries. Taz, after wrestling a match, felt his neck was stiff. This is back during ECW. He and a friend of his, I think it was Sabu or Rob Van Dam, I can't remember which. They walk to the emergency room. The doctor looks him over and says, "How did you get here?" Like, "I walked." Like, there's no way you could have walked. What do you mean? I walked. There's no way you could have walked. You broke your neck. That's right. He unknowingly broke his neck, and that injury led to him actually retiring much earlier than he was supposed to. He did have a short run in the WWE, but then his injuries got the best of him, and now he's retired, which is a shame because he was a very talented wrestler. Stone Cold Steve Austin, another prime example. He wrestles Owen Hart at I can't remember the pay-per-view, but Owen goes for a pile driver on Steve Austin. He makes a tiny, tiny mistake, and Steve breaks his neck. And he's dealt with neck injuries that took him out of the game early too. He is retired. He can't get back in the ring. He probably could with some training, but the neck injuries is what they do. Because why do I now injuries happen? Look at last Monday night. John Cena took an errant kick to the nose, broke his nose, and his nose looked like fucking Play-Doh. But he still won the match. He still continued the match. Now, I don't know if you've had a broken nose, but considering that your nasal passage is bent the wrong way and you have blood streaming out of it and you can barely breathe, to be able to wrestle or do any kind of physical activity in that kind of regard shows just how much dedication he has. Now, the injuries that if you want to keep saying that they're not really all that tough, think about this. I remember a few years ago, LeBron James was in the NBA Finals. He sprained, I think he tore a ligament in his leg or something, and he was out for the rest of the series. Mick Foley wrestled in probably the most famous wrestling match of all time against Undertaker at King of the Ring. He fell off the steel cage twice. Once was planned, the second was not planned. His injuries looked like something that a person who just walked out of a car crash would have, and yet he finished the match, even though it had so much damage to him that he couldn't remember the match after a certain point. And when during his autobiography, he had to actually during his biography, I can't remember. During when he had to write his book for about his life, he said that he had to watch a tape of the match because he didn't remember how the match went about. That just goes to show you how much dedication they have. So I'm just saying, and also this is another point I need to address. Not nobody can get in the ring because if you don't know what you're doing, you could hurt yourself or your opponent, or at the very worst, get them killed. I want to use two examples for this. First, from the Attitude Era, Darren Drozdov, also known as Draws, or Puke, because he could puke on command. Very nice mid-carder with an interesting gimmick, kind of like a punker almost, wore baggy clothes. His opponent, D'Lo Brown, very talented undercard guy. And he went for his finish. They had a regular match. Went for his finishing move. This happened live. I don't know if you can watch it on YouTube. I don't know if you should look that up or not. But he went for a pile driver. I mean, not a pile driver, a power bomb. But because of how loose Draws' clothing was, he couldn't get a really good grip on him. So when he slammed him down at a wrong angle. And after the match was over, they had to carry him out on a stretcher. He was paralyzed from the neck down. That was the end of his career. That was the last match he ever wrestled, and he died several years later. D'Lo is it's a sore subject with him because I think him and Draws were friends. So yeah, it doesn't take much to end your career in the ring. Miscommunication, a botched attempt, anything anything could end your career in the ring. When they step through those ropes, they have to make sure everything goes according to plan, because if one thing is off, at the very least it looks ugly. At the very worst, somebody's getting hurt. What happened to John Cena was a clear accident. It happens. I mean, look at Vader and Stan Hansen. Stan Hansen poked the guy's eye out clean out of its socket accidentally with his thumb, and Vader popped it back in mid-match. Now, another example I want to pull up. Victory Road 2006. For those of you who are a professional wrestling aficionados know what this means. TNA wrestling event Victory Road. It was Sting defending the TNA World Championship against Jeff Hardy, who was on a heel run at the time. Now, there's a reason why WWE has very strict standards when it comes to a wellness policy, when it comes to recreational drugs. Like you can't, like they always do drug tests because you don't want to be going into that ring inebriated in any kind of way. All right, so TNA does not lacks these stringent the stringent drug testing policies that the WWE has. So I'm gonna so Jeff Hardy, who was widely known for his substance abuse. In fact, during the time when he came to TNA, he had had a drug charge under him when they arrested him and found a basic drug lab in his house. He came out there and he was either high or drunk or both, but he was clearly not fit to perform, and yet he came out there anyway. And I knew it, watchers at home knew it, the fans knew it, and most of all, Sting and the ref knew it. Before the match, even as soon as he staggered into the ring, Eric Bischoff, who broke kayfabe or broke storyline anyway, came out there to quote unquote taunt Sting. But in reality, he came to whisper to both Earl Hebner and Sting that Jeff is fucked up, end it quick. He cuts a small promo, gets out of the ring, the match happens. 3 minutes in, Sting wins with a roll-up, and you could see that Jeff was scratching and clawing. He didn't want to lose. He was just going to run the rest of the match anyway. And that's how the match ended. Fans were upset, and even Sting was upset as he said something to the effect of, I'm sorry. I know this happened. It's not my fault. But yeah, Jeff Hardy risked his life and the life of Sting by getting in the ring. I mean, what if they did something wrong? What if he went for a suplex and couldn't, because he was so inebriated, couldn't do it properly? He could have broke Sting's back, or at the very least, hurt himself, because Jeff Hardy's style of wrestling is physically demanding. He takes a lot of risks. He does a lot of high-flying moves, and you really don't want to do that. You really don't want to be twisting, doing 360s in the air, or jumping, doing swanton bombs when you're 3 sheets of the wind, drunk or high, or whatever he was. So yeah, needless to say, Jeff was gone from the company shortly after, but they brought him back, and it is still the biggest black mark on Jeff Hardy's career. Victory Road. He will never be able to live that down, and a lot of fans have never forgiven him for that. Because that shit's serious. Like I said, these moves are dangerous. That's why they say don't try them at home, because they're trained professionals. They've trained for this for years and years to make it look easy, but it's really not. Because you can break your back, or break an arm, or accidentally kill someone doing these moves if you don't do them properly. Now, I know what you're saying. If you still believe wrestling is fake, I'm going to give you the one answer. This is something that I've often said very, very many times when people say that wrestling is fake, that they don't really get hurt, that it's all imaginary. I say this, and it shuts them up. I'm going to say this. And you can use this line if you want. Go ahead. Just use it. Just to shut people up. Now, if wrestling were truly, truly fake, Adam Copeland would still have a job. For those of you who don't know, Adam Copeland is the real name of WWE superstar and Hall of Famer Edge. Edge had a fantastic career, won more belts than any other single male wrestler in the history of the company. He is a Royal Rumble winner. Money in the Bank winner, first ever Mr. Money in the Bank winner, cashes in twice. Was a King of the Ring, multi-time tag champion, multi-time intercontinental champion, United States champion, I believe European champion at one time, hardcore champion, 10-time world champion, up there with the likes of John Cena and Randy Orton. So, but he had a lot of matches where it involved high risk and a lot of hard spots like TLC matches and ladder matches and tables matches and street fights. And there's a reason why those matches are called career shorteners, because even though they look good and can make you famous, they can cut years off your life. A couple of years back, Edge defended his title successfully against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania, the first time he's ever done so. He comes out several days later to the ring, says he has an announcement. He says to the effect that he was feeling numbness in his I think it's his left side. He told the doctor. The doctor said, go to the emergency room and have a physician look you over. The physician looked him over and he pretty much said that Edge had to retire at 37. Now, 37 is not old by wrestling standards. Wrestlers can keep doing this into their 60s. Like Terry Funk, like guys like Terry Funk and Jerry the King Lawler and who else? Ric Flair and Sting. All those guys wrestle well past their 50s and beyond. So 37 was still considered quite young. And he just had to hang it up because the doctor said that he had developed a condition in which that if he took 1 or 2 serious bumps, that would be it. At the very least, he would be crippled for life. The very most, he would be dead. So he had no choice but to retire. This is not a storyline. This is not some kind of thing that he did because he chose to retire on top with money. No. He cannot wrestle anymore. And thankfully, he did so beforehand because the next match he was scheduled to have was a ladder match with Alberto Del Rio. And there were some hella hard bumps in a ladder match, falling from ladders onto concrete or through tables, onto the mat itself. And he wouldn't even be here acting if he wasn't. So yeah, tell me again that wrestling is fake. And then look at Adam Copeland. If it's so fake, Adam Copeland could still be wrestling. He could be wrestling Seth Rollins right now, or Kevin Owens, or any number of people on the roster. But nope, he had to retire. So if you keep on saying that it's fake, just go and send a tweet to Adam Copeland saying, "Hey, wrestling is fake. Why don't you just get back in the ring? You were good at it." See what kind of answers you get. But yeah. The point of this video I'm trying to make is, before you say wrestling is fake, learn something about it. I teach my father. He is interesting enough. I teach him things about wrestling he didn't know. He says stuff like, "Oh, they just train themselves how to fall." Like, no, it's not just that. It takes a lot of skill and dedication and timing and technique to do what they do and do it well, as to not kill themselves doing it. Because if you're gonna call it fake, at least do your homework. Look up what it really takes to do this job. Ask some wrestlers. Social media is abuzz with wrestlers. Ask them how to do this, what they do, before you say it's fake. Because it makes you sound retarded. It makes you sound uneducated. And it makes you sound like a dumbass. Don't say that shit. Do not say that shit. And going back to my first point, this is what Dana White, why would he even say some shit like that? He should know what kind of punishment these guys put themselves through to just say it's fake. Whether or not he's just doing this to stir up controversy, I don't know. But if he really didn't said this shit out of the just because he can, this is not. Educate yourself, Dana. Educate yourself. Educate yourself, people. If you're watching this video, educate yourself. Before you say wrestling is fake, educate yourself. That's all I gotta say. Educate yourself. So yeah, this is my video on Dana White's comments, as well as the discussion of wrestling being fake or not. So if you like what you see, link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions, comments, or just want to talk about professional wrestling in general? Leave them below. I'll get back to you. Better yet, how about this? For my wrestling fans out there, you know who I'm talking about. Legato, Griffoon, um, Steve, Iron Twister. You know who I'm talking about. If you guys are watching this video, leave a link below of a match that got too real, like when someone got hurt or when someone was legitimately had their ass beat or something like that. Just leave it below and just share your thoughts and experiences with this overall subject. If you like what you see, if you want to see more, click the like button or click an advertisement. If you want to get in contact with me, check me out at #CaptainLuffy on Twitter. Or if you just want to support the channel, just click the like button, click an advertisement, helps with the rent, or drop $1. Doesn't matter. So until next time, it's been shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, saying good day and educate yourself. Educate yourself.